What's up, guys? We got one here from Insolent Audits. Older women realizing they are not wanted anymore and start crying on social media. Let's get into it.
Okay, so I met my ex-husband, my boy's dad, on a dating app. So you would have thought I would have learned my lesson not to ever go on a dating app again. But I am sitting in Arizona in the last year after my breakup. I have really worked on myself, healed. So I went on this dating app and I had one date that didn't go so well. I was like, I'm not really ready to date. And then a couple weeks later, I went out and met this guy off the dating app. Have you ever met someone and just everything clicks and hours of talking seems like seconds? And I don't know, it scares me because this guy is really amazing. So
The good old dating app redemption arc. First, she marries a guy from one app, and then shockingly, it doesn't work out. And what's her brilliant move? Jump back onto the same clown carousel. I mean, healing, sure, you can call it that, but now she's meeting amazing guys after 2 weeks. I mean, lady, your trauma bonds haven't even expired yet. What I want to know is what's the over under on this dude ghosting her once he realizes she's still lugging emotional baggage like a discount suitcase. And dating apps are casinos for attention. Women cash in, men go broke. Next.
So I'm single and childless. Yesterday at work, somebody was talking about dating, and I was just like, yeah, I gave up on that one time ago. And then somebody else was like, Rachel, this whole time I thought you were married with kids. She said, I don't know, you just act so grown up. And I took that as a compliment. I was like, who, me? Act grown up? But then I thought, I am 39, so I probably should. But here's the thing, I say gave up, but that's kind of not really true. For me, it's just not my main goal. It's not my priority at this point in my life. I think when we age, just our priorities shift. And I think when I realized that I don't have to have a spouse or I don't have to have kids to have a happy life, I was able to shift my perspective. And I'm like, my life's pretty good as it is. I don't want to spend X amount of days that I have left in this life worried or stressed about finding a spouse. If it happens, it happens. Great. If it doesn't, I'm still going to live a great life. Travel, spend time with my family, my friends, prioritize my health, and act like a grown-up.
Another I don't need a man anthem for the childless 39-year-old. I mean, sure, priorities shift when the wall's in your rearview mirror and it tends to focus the mind. Let's be real though. All this travel, health, and happiness talk, it's code for cope. She says it's okay to be alone, but all I hear is the ticking biological clock screaming last call. It's great she's found peace, but let's not pretend this isn't plan B. Nature doesn't care about priorities. It cares about survival of the species.
Why isn't anybody talking about the single tax? It is significantly more expensive to be single, to the point that it's economically irresponsible to cook when you're single. It costs $75 to make a meal, not to mention the cost of running the dishwasher, washing up all of the pots and pans. And then what am I going to do? Eat lasagna for 6 days? When I could use Uber Eats and one of their various codes each week to get a salad for $9. Imagine paying half your rent because you share your apartment with somebody, half your electricity bills, half your cable, Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, subscriptions. When you're going to the airport on a trip, you don't have to pay $70 for an Uber by yourself because you're splitting it with somebody. Forget saving money on a Costco membership. When am I ever going to use 36 apples? It's honestly the only argument I have for getting in a relationship. It is expensive to stay single. Just imagine if there were no more single people. The food and beverage industry would just collapse.
So now we're moving on to single tax, and we're blaming capitalism now for not having a plus one. Cooking lasagna is too much work, but endless swiping on apps isn't. I mean, look, the cost of being single isn't just economic, it's existential. And let's not forget women file 70% of divorces, not men. You wanted independence, right? Well, enjoy paying full price for Costco apples while Uber Eats and loneliness clean out your bank account.
Quick story time before handing it over to a question that I have for the single men. So I was dating a guy that was 40. We had gone on maybe 10 dates. He is single, never been married, no kids. I am previously been married and I have a child. So we ended up ending things, and he had said he's just having a really hard time getting past the fact that I have a child with someone else. He wants to start a family with someone that has never had a family, has never been married, never had a child. And so my thought would be he needs to go younger. I had said that to him, okay, well, kind of like a reality check. If that's the case, you're likely going to have to go younger. And he's like, oh, I already tried that. before we dated, I was dating only younger girls. He's like, I just have never had anything in common with them. We're at very different stages of our life, 40 and 20, early 20s. It's just like you have a lot of growing up to do, or maybe you have experiences that you're still looking to achieve in your life before you settle down, rightfully so. But the question I have is for the single men. Is this normal that you really don't want to date someone that has either been married or has a child if you have not been married and you do not have a child? Or are majority of guys open to starting that family with someone that's already had a family? Really curious. I've never heard something of that nature before, but this is the first guy that I've dated in a long time that has either never been married nor had a child at the age of 40. So was curious, would love to hear anyone's input or perspective. Let me know.
Sounds like this guy had worked on his grind all those years, and now he's in a position to where he can have the pickings of what he's looking for. Because by the time you get in your 40s and you've done all of these things, the choice is yours. Honestly, this guy dodged a bullet, plain and simple. He doesn't want to be a stepdad. I mean, good for him. Nothing wrong with that. Raising another man's kid isn't starting a family, it's cleaning up someone else's mess. And the thought on younger girls aren't mature. I mean, maybe the guy doesn't want to date younger women, as he said he couldn't find something in common with them, and they're still working on experienced life. Might be the people he's choosing. I mean, who knows? I mean, there'd be a variety of reasons there. But here's a thought. Instead of questioning him, why not ask why you're fishing in a pond full of men with zero interest in your baggage?
Do not be worried if you're 38 and single. Do not be worried if you're 48 and single. Do not be worried if you're 28 and single. Do not let society tell you that you were old when you were 38. I am 38, I'm single, I don't have any kids, I've never been married. I spent a lot of years going back and forth on feeling bad about that. Sometimes I wouldn't care, sometimes I would care too much. Ooh, definitely just heard a car wreck. Because of that, a lot of the actions that I took weren't healthy. After a night out, I would hate going home to an empty house, so I would just go after party. If something was no longer serving me in a relationship, I'd cling to it, hang on to it longer, thinking that I can just make this work. If something would end, I would jump back on the dating apps and I'd be like, oh my God, I need to find a date. And that would make me end up feeling worse because I'm very choosy on who I spend my time with. So I'd go on lots of first dates, not like anyone, and then think that it was hopeless. I got into some pretty deep therapy from 36 to 37. I went to 2 different retreats at the Meadows. I worked with a therapist. I was with someone that went through sobriety. All the therapy really leveled me out.
That car accident pretty much sums up, I think, her dating life. But we have the tragedy of the perpetually single. Therapy retreats, sobriety partners, endless first dates, and it sounds like someone's been swiping left on reality. I mean, look, therapy is great if you have a therapist that tells you what you need to hear and doesn't stroke your ego and tell you what you want to hear. But it's not a substitute for accountability. And the irony is she's super picky, yet clings to toxic relationships like they're a life vest. Self-improvement doesn't mean slapping a Band-Aid on bad choices. It means stepping off the hamster wheel of self-inflicted chaos. But wait, she's not done yet. She still has a little more to tell us.
Once I turned 38, the clock ticking has just dissipated. Such a nice place to be in. At the end of the day, I am not old. I have the rest of my life to find and spend with someone. Yeah, I have never had a burning desire to be a mom. I'd like to have that opportunity with the correct person. I froze my eggs when I was 32 because I was so invested in my career that I knew that was probably a good idea. I would love to meet someone that would make an amazing father. And I'm also coming to terms with the idea of maybe what my life would look like if that doesn't happen for me. And I wish that I had wrapped my head around that years prior. Now, if you're someone that absolutely knows that motherhood is in your future, do not let that dream die. Figure out a way to make it happen, and it'll happen. For me, that just wasn't my number one priority. And that's clear by the decisions I've made in my life. So if you're in your 20s or in your 30s or even in your 40s and you're feeling like everyone else has it together and you're lacking and you're scared, I hope looking at me and my life and my mentality can give you just a little bit of peace. There are other alternatives to ways of living your life that can be very fulfilling and very beautiful, and don't let society tell you otherwise, okay? All right, love y'all.
So frozen eggs and a frozen dating life, it's a perfect match. She claims she doesn't feel old at 38, but let's be honest, those eggs are starting to defrost. Career first, kids maybe. I mean, fine, but don't act surprised when life doesn't hand you the hallmark ending that you're looking for. And telling younger women don't feel pressured while you're backpedaling into accepting your fate, I mean, that's classic. And here's the truth, biology isn't on pause no matter how hard you try to wrap your head around it. I mean, look, here's the hard truth. Modern dating is a toxic wasteland, and it's not just the apps, it's the people. You know, women are fed a diet if you can have it all, and while men are waking up to the reality that the game is rigged. Family courts, feminist double standards, and social media have turned relationships into transactions. Men are opting out, getting passports, and seeking traditional values abroad. And meanwhile, women are holding the bill of their own independence. As always, men, build yourself first, financially, mentally, physically, and stop chasing and start leading. You know, women, drop the entitlement. Relationships are about cooperation and not competition. Society won't fix itself, but you can fix your corner of it. Anyways, guys, that's the end of the video here. If you like what you've seen today, hit that like button, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Drop me a comment down below what you think, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.